This video covers navigating and using the EWIS monitoring resources on the websites of the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Educators can use these resources to identify students at risk of missing academic milestones during the school year, track practice and programming adjustments, and reflect on progress using the early warning implementation cycle. In this video, we'll cover setting up a system to monitor students' ongoing academic risk. Schools collect student data on a regular basis, and with limited time, it may be difficult to cut through the volume of information. With early warning monitoring, educators can identify which students are showing signs of academic risk throughout the school year and decide how to best support students. To get started, first choose how to flag students. This starts with indicators and thresholds. Across all grades, the best indicators are ones that are easily obtained, are actionable, and are able to change during the school year in response to students' progress. Research shows that ABCs, attendance, behavior, and course performance, are powerful indicators of students' academic risk. If that feels like a lot, start small with just attendance. Thresholds or cut points are the scores at which students begin to show signs of academic risk. Use a threshold for each indicator.
We monitor the ABCs. We've established target thresholds, 10% for the attendance, for the behavior. Now we monitor the out-of-school suspensions and the curriculum progress with the grades.
Another option is to add indicators and thresholds that fit your local context. Tardies, post-secondary readiness activities, or others. Up to 4 indicators may be enough.
We have an attendance policy. Separate from that, we were interested in actually the number of class absences. The last 2 ninth grade cohorts, we found, for example, 71% of students who had 13 or more absences in the class earned a D+ or lower in that class. So that's about less than 4 absences per quarter. Communicating that to students and to teachers, that in itself, we're hopeful that that knowledge will be powerful. Starting the conversation there, we're hopeful that will lead to more structured interventions.
Next, decide which tool to use. Within a student information system, on a separate system, such as dashboard software, or in a spreadsheet. Around the state, educators use a range of tools based on their context. Keep in mind, you may want to share it and will want to update it several times throughout the school year.
I have an Excel spreadsheet that is homegrown that we refine quarterly. By the end of each term, I flag who right now, if the term ended, term 1, term 2, term 3, who would not meet that academic milestone, and that's where we focus our interventions with the teachers.
What we did was pull together both the high school graduation, high and moderate risk students, and the post-secondary enrollment, high and moderate risk students. We put those together in a spreadsheet in Google Docs. And then we tracked 2 data points at December 1st and April 1st. So we tracked the status of their post-secondary plans, and we tracked if they were on track for graduation. So I created drop-downs in a Google spreadsheet, so all the counselors had to do was pick from a drop-down for their students. They had a lot of work to do with the students, but they didn't have a lot of work to do so we could track it.
The department offers a free EWIS monitoring tool on the EWIS monitoring website.
We've created a new monitoring webpage. On that, we have a couple of new exciting things. One of them is this monitoring tool. This is us trying to provide a free resource that might help you do some of these monitoring activities throughout the year. This monitoring tool, it's going to be a bit of an iterative process for us. As we hear about any potential problems or we hear new ideas of how you want to use it, we'll be trying to make those improvements.
At each marking period, or whatever frequency is right for your context, generate up-to-date information. Examine the data 2, 3, or 4 times a year to identify students if they begin to go off track. Catching changes in student risk right away, understanding underlying causes, and creating appropriate programmatic supports or systemic changes can bring students back on track quickly. Identify students whose needs are not being met and explore underlying causes of risk. Based on the findings, take action with Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 supports. Assign students to programs or interventions based on their strengths and needs, and consider system-wide changes.
Seeing some of the risk factors, whether it was attendance, poor grade performance, maybe poor test performance. Some of the things we did, that I did specifically with my kids as incoming freshmen, would be to meet with them weekly to check their grades in our school grading system, have them stay for extra help, peer tutoring. We also have an after-school help program where students can get, for 2 hours after school, 4 days a week. We have a late bus that comes in and they can get help with their academics, with their homework, so they certainly don't have as much homework to bring home with them. And they can get targeted help specifically from a math teacher, English teacher. We've even had situations where we've had to make home visits. It's been a challenge, but it's certainly something that we embrace and that we certainly will use this moving forward to help our incoming freshmen to succeed as they transition into high school.
EWIS is what we call a predictive analytic. It is not a life sentence for kids. It's not meant to track them. It's meant for us to really design interventions based on all the information that we have from EWIS, from your other data or information you have in your school districts, and what you know about your kids. EWIS is just one piece of this.
So we have a lot of change in practice, in curriculum and instruction that has resulted from what started as a simple spreadsheet with filters for who's not reaching our targeted milestones and what can we do to be proactive and support students.
Monitoring strategies and tools can be simple or complex. The best methods are any that are used to impact students.
Making it as accessible and easy as possible for those who don't naturally come to data really helps when they can see this is what it leads to for kids.
See other videos in this series to learn more about DESE's EWIS monitoring resources.